Growing up, I was big into He-Man. I watched the cartoons, I had the toys. One of the best gifts I ever got was the Snake Mountain playset. And one year, one of my cousins gave me a Barbie doll as a present. Barbie went in with all of the He-Man figures, even though she was almost twice as tall as them. She was He-Man's girlfriend. She was the most powerful person in Eternia, and everybody was nice to her, because you didn't want to make her mad. I bring all of this up because today we're talking about Morwenna Banks and her role in Barbie in A Christmas Carol. Born in 1961 in Redruth, Cornwall, United Kingdom, Tamsin Morwenna Banks dreamed of becoming a dramatic actress. After graduating from the Truro High School for Girls, she enrolled at Robinson College, Cambridge, and began work on a degree in performance. But she made a course correction when one of her instructors advised her that she had an excellent skill set for comedy. Banks joined the Cambridge Footlights and performed with them from 1981 to 1983, and also acted with the Marlowe Society, a Cambridge student club dedicated to achieving a high standard of student drama. Banks not only performed comedy, but also excelled as a sketch writer and in creating original characters. In 1987, she first published her book on women in the field of comedy, The Joke's on Us. A performance at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival led to Banks being hired by BBC Radio 4 to work on the comedy series Bodgers, Banks, and Sparks. She and the rest of the team from the Radio 4 series would co-create Absolutely for Channel 4, and Banks would write and perform on the show as the only recurring female cast member. That sketch comedy television program would air from 1989 to 1993, and Banks's characters would see her rising in popularity in the field of sketch comedy, particularly her solo character, the little girl, who would monologue about current events. Her success in British sketch comedy caught the eye of the producers of Saturday Night Live in the United States, and in 1994, she was invited to audition for the venerable late-night staple. The times were tumultuous for Saturday Night Live. Phil Hartman, who had acted as the core of the ensemble, had left the show just one season before, and most of the major names left writing would leave before the end of the 1995 season. These transitional periods in the show's history have always been a hard time to join the cast. Morwenna Banks would be hired as a last-minute addition in April, and when I say last minute, I mean last minute. The 20th season of Saturday Night Live had started in September of 1994 and was ending in May of 1995. Banks was added to the cast with only 4 weeks left in the season. She would reprise the little girl as a Weekend Update character and would appear in several sketches, including one in which she was berated by SNL alum and host for that week, Chris Farley's Matt Foley.
Pronto ustedes flamenco en un vayan cerca de un rio.
Senor Foley, where'd you study Spanish? Taco Bell?
Muy comico.
But she would not be given the opportunity to head up any sketches or introduce any recurring characters or celebrity impersonations. When the season ended, Banks was not invited to return to the cast for the following season. Her 4-episode tenure gives her the distinction of having the shortest run of any member of the SNL ensemble in any season. In fact, while she was a member of the ensemble, her run was so short that she is rarely mentioned in official histories of the show, including the book that is largely thought of as SNL's definitive history, Live from New York. Despite the brevity of her run at the American comedy scene, Banks had little trouble getting back into action when she returned to the UK field. She would appear in Steve Coogan's Saxondale and started picking up regular voice acting gigs as Claire Feeble in Stressed Eric and Mummy Pig in Peppa Pig, to name just a couple, as well as hopping back across the pond for small appearances in Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Weird Science. In 1998, she had her own self-titled sketch show on the BBC, and she would guest in several episodes of the original British rendition of Skins. She wrote and produced the ensemble film The Announcement in 2001, and in 2013, her play Goodbye, about a woman dealing with terminal breast cancer, was produced for BBC Radio 4, with Banks's son Ezra and her daughter Dolly among the cast. She was a recurring voice ensemble member of the 2015 reboot of Danger Mouse, playing Delilah Von Greenback, Dawn, and Danger Moth, among many other characters. Also in 2015, Goodbye would be adapted from stage to screen under the title Miss You Already. She appeared as Venus Traducis in the 6 years of BBC Radio 4's Gloomsbury, and in 2016, she co-wrote and starred in the comedy series Damned. Starting in 2015, she wrote for and appeared in the BBC radio sitcom Shush. She provides the voice of Mrs. Brown in the cartoon The Adventures of Paddington, which began airing on Children 4 Junior in the UK and Nick Jr. in the US in early 2020.
Oh, you're devious, Catherine Beadnell. Devious. And what new actress is waiting for you in here, Catherine? Anastasia Warbler, Renata Trilby, Cassandra... Catherine! Hello, everyone!
In 1956, Ruth Handler was traveling with her children, Barbara and Kenneth, in Europe. She came across a popular toy on the German market at the time, the Bild Lily. These figures were based on the blonde bombshell star of the Lily comics, appearing at the time in the newspaper Bild. The toys had originally been launched as a gag gift for adults, but had also become popular with German children, and stores sold clothing changes and Lily-sized dollhouses to accompany the figurines. Handler was excited to come across the toy, as it was almost exactly the thing she had suggested to her husband, the co-founder of Mattel, just a year or so prior, when she had pointed out that dolls for children were almost universally infants. She bought 3 of the toys, and after giving one of them to her daughter Barbara, she brought the other 2 home to show to Mattel. Working together with designer Jack Ryan, she redesigned the toy, and at the American International Toy Fair in New York City in 1959, the new doll, named Barbe after Barbara Handler, was introduced to the world. The doll came in both brunette and blonde and was marketed as Barbie, the teenage fashion model. In the first year of production, over 350,000 of the dolls were sold. A lawsuit from the manufacturers of the Lily was eventually settled out of court, with Mattel buying the copyright and patents for Bild Lily for $21,600, or almost $200,000 in today's money. Given that Barbie on her own is now a multi-million-dollar-a-year industry, it was a heck of a deal. Many firsts are associated with Barbie, but generally speaking, she is believed to have been the first toy to have an extensive television marketing plan, and that plan served as the model for almost every other television marketed toy for decades afterward. Barbie has widely become associated with little girls' dreams of the future, leading to debates over the way that she presents unattainable standards of beauty, as well as controversy when Mattel has made somewhat poor decisions regarding Barbie merchandise. including once releasing a talking Barbie doll who, as one of her phrases, repeated, "Math is hard." Her name has been attached to the Barbie syndrome, indicating an overriding desire to use any means necessary to have a physical appearance and lifestyle as portrayed by the Barbie toy line. Artists and social organizations have also embraced the imagery of Barbie, including art films and photography, both loving and critical around the character, and the performance art group the Barbie Liberation Organization, who in 1993 secretly replaced the aforementioned talking Barbies' voice boxes with voice boxes from talking G.I. Joe dolls before smuggling the dolls back into stores and placing them on the shelves. In the 80s, Deke Animation would attempt to bring Barbie to Saturday mornings on several occasions, but would never quite succeed in getting a series ordered by the networks. However, their efforts would often lead to failed pilots that they would then repackage and sell as movies either on VHS or as one-off specials for television, such as 1987's Barbie and the Rockers Out of This World and Barbie and the Sensations Rockin' Back to Earth. But if you ask Mattel, the Barbie visual media franchise begins in 2001 with Barbie in the Nutcracker. The line was launched following the decline of Barbie's popularity in the 90s in the face of its first ever truly successful competitor, the Bratz dolls. As envisioned, the movies expand the pretend play element of the Barbie line by associating the character of Barbie with fantasy storytelling. While Barbie had usually been grounded in more realistic, if idealized, career dressing, these movies would present her in retellings of fairy tales and popular stories of magic and wonder, often depicting Barbie as a princess. And of course, each movie would be accompanied by an entire line of tie-in merchandise, playsets, costumes, props, and redesigned dolls. Between October 23, 2001 and September 18, 2017, the Barbie franchise would release 37 movies, either direct-to-video or as made-for-cable movies on Nickelodeon. After a brief hiatus, the series returned in 2020 with Barbie Princess Adventure. While the movies have never been critically acclaimed or even critically tolerated, for that matter, they have been profitable for Mattel. Over 112 million copies combined of the first 34 movies have sold, for a combined take of over $964 million, and, according to Mattel's marketing department, the movies successfully reversed Barbie's decline from the 90s and have steadily increased toy sales as long as the line has been running.
Special guest? Merry Christmas, everybody. Eden Starling! Eden! Tammy? You know my name! I want to hug too!
My orphan love, mine, all mine. Barbie in A Christmas Carol features Barbie telling her little sister Kelly a story very loosely based on Dickens's work, featuring the haunting of a self-obsessed actor-singer named Eden Starling, voiced by Morwenna Banks. This all in an effort to teach Kelly that she shouldn't be so selfish in wanting to stay home from a party and spend Christmas with her family. I guess it is kind of selfish, especially considering that Kelly clearly chained up Skipper and hid her in the basement so that she could steal her life. Eden Starling is the head of a theater troupe that presents her Christmas extravaganza on Christmas Eve, and then she proceeds to hurt her fellow cast members' feelings by missing their Christmas party and insisting that all of the troupe must come in on Christmas Day and begin rehearsing their next show, which opens in 2 weeks. Yes, Barbie commits the egregious sin of wanting to get a jump on her next performance. Or maybe her sin is in carrying around a living version of the medieval human-faced cat paintings. Whatever the case, Starling is shown through her past, present, and future, where she can learn how selfish and horrible she has been, taking the time to practice her singing when she could have been entertaining people with her singing. Look, I don't know exactly what the ghosts are trying to get across here, but whatever it is, they all seem satisfied that Eden Starling gets the point by the end of the story, and they would know best. We don't really see Starling eat dinner, so that's a no point for home or the tavern. She's comfortably asleep instead when she is visited by the ghost of her Aunt Marie, and just her Aunt Marie, decked out in hand mirrors hanging from her golden chains.
I think you'd have an easier time if you took off some of your jewellery.
No, Eden, these chains don't ever come off. They're the chains I formed in life.
Let us all hope that we will spend eternity wearing the sick bling we forged in life. We don't really have the political elements of the story, so you're not going to see want and ignorance hanging off of the Ghost of Christmas Presents party frock. And you're not going to see Eden Starling falling into her grave. Instead, horror of horrors, future Eden Starling is poor. And how did she get poor? Well, apparently she was selfish and didn't share credit and fired her troupe, and then she wasn't able to keep putting on her shows. And all of her old friends won't help because she taught them through demonstration that being selfish is good. So future Eden Starling is now preaching the lesson that Christmas is about friends and family and kindness to others, but nobody is listening to her. And after much internal debate, I am awarding Let's Visit the Cratchits a point for this movie, because I figure the orphanage her assistant is helping qualifies as the story's Tiny Tim, so yeah, it's my rules. I can decide where the point goes. Look, the story is not quite A Christmas Carol as much as it is Christmas Carol shaped. Dickens' immortal classic is a highly political story with a lot to say about hoarding of wealth and refusing to spend money on making the world a better place. Barbe in A Christmas Carol is largely apolitical, with the message of the story being boiled down to don't be selfish. Eden Starling only has to learn not to live by her Aunt Marie's teaching that
In a selfish world, the selfish succeed.
The Barbie toy franchise continues to fill aisles, and the 39th computer-animated film in the Barbie franchise hit stores on September 1st, 2021. As for live-action outings for the character, the first such proposed movie was announced as in development by Canon Films in 1986, but never appeared. A comedic take on the character starring Amy Schumer was developed at Sony Pictures, but fell through after the production lost Schumer to scheduling conflicts, as well as its attached writer Diablo Cody. But currently, Mattel Films is producing a new live-action project planned to star Margot Robbie as the world's most popular fashion doll, and Ryan Gosling as her boyfriend Ken, with Greta Gerwig directing. It is expected to release theatrically sometime in 2023. So, tell me, what do you think of Morwenna Banks' performance in Barbie in A Christmas Carol? How do you feel about the way that the story was boiled down into a simple story about selfishness? Drop down into the comments and let me know. Also, let me know, do you think Morwenna Banks was robbed by Saturday Night Live? That's what the comments are there for. There's also a like and subscribe button. If you haven't hit either one of those, take the time to drop down there now and hit those. And there's a share button to share this video with other people because, you know, sharing is caring. If you would like to see more of my reports on different actors portraying different characters, you can catch up from the very start of the Scrooge Advent Calendar right there. And there is also a link right there for my Halloween countdown of Draculas. Until next time, watch like it means something.